Hello, welcome to another thrilling episode of Eurozone here on the ALMedia channel with me, Jose. Well, we'll be previewing the semi-final clashes in the UEFA Champions League and then also the UEFA Conference League as well as the Europa League, where some crunch games will be happening. Can Leverkusen continue with the unbeaten run as they face Roma in the last four of the UEFA Europa League? But then in the Champions League, there's no English side because both Arsenal and Manchester City were knocked out in their respective quarter-final games. We'll be previewing all the games that will be happening in the three tiers of European club football, and I'll be helped by my pundit here, Force, who has joined us for the discussion. Force, welcome to Eurozone.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Great.
All right, so we had a very, very interesting round of 8. That's the quarter-final stage. We had some interesting results pan out. Barcelona, you predicted them to be in the semi-finals. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it to the semi-final stage. Manchester City, everyone's favorite, also failed, to make it to the semi-finals. Real Madrid, they showed character, and they are still contending for this particular one because they have their sights on their 15th UEFA Champions League title. But then let's start off with the games that will be coming up. Real Madrid will be facing Bayern Munich. That is a classic UEFA Champions League semi-final game, isn't it?
The biggest game in the Champions League semis is going to be the Madrid versus Bayern Munich game.
Obviously.
Technically and tactically or historically, Madrid has always had advantage when it comes to playing Bayern Munich. During the days of Alfredo Di Stefano, Kaká, Cristiano Ronaldo, and then currently we come to the tenor of Bellingham and then Vinicius Junior. A lot is going to go into the game. If you watch the game between Real Madrid and Man City, you realize that Madrid exerted a lot of energy because defensively they were astute for 100.
Most of the defenders.
Yes, for 120 minutes. They ran more than 12 kilometers. So it has taken a lot out of them. It's placed a lot more toll on them. But if you want to compare the form of Madrid and the form of Bayern currently, it's going to be a big disparity because Real Madrid is on top, of La Liga, playing very well, scoring goals, playing very well in the Champions League as well. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich is not having a great season. They've lost the league.
But is that relevant, talking about because we saw Arsenal on top of the Premier League, but then yet they were beaten by Bayern Munich side that was struggling in the Bundesliga.
You can compare Arsenal to Madrid.
Yeah,
the gap and the gulf in experience, in their manager's experience, in the team's historical precedence is vast. I get to the point. So it's a totally different analysis altogether. But on the day, I do believe that Real Madrid is going to have the upper hand because they've got the players, they're having a good season, they've got a coach who is more experienced. He's won the Champions League 3 times. With AC Milan and then currently with Madrid as well. So on the day, I think it's going to go Madrid's way. Should they play very well? But one interesting thing is the fact that Madrid is not going to be defensive on that day. Bayern is not that great, so it's going to be unfair on the supporters of Real Madrid for them to be defensive against Bayern Munich, which I know they are not going to be.
Right, but then also there could be a repetition of one of the fixtures we saw in the group stages where Borussia Dortmund had to play against PSG. But talking about Dortmund, no one gave them a dog's chance, and looking at how far they've come, maybe they could end up going to the final again. But then the only team standing between them and another finale is PSG. Where do you think this one is going to go?
Dortmund are the dark horses in the Champions League currently. Like you rightly said, nobody really expected them to be the semis, but they've breached through the odds. They've played some amazing football to the extent that they knocked out Atletico Madrid 4-2, in Germany. One thing that is really going on well for Dortmund is the fact that they've got some young bunch of players who understand the rule, who understand the reason for which they are Dortmund. And in contrast, comparatively, both teams have got some incredibly talented young players. Unlike previously, where PSG used to go in for these experienced players, with ego, with much more experience. But they've got a young squad that believes in the higher court, that believes in the coach's instruction. Byron Dembele and then Mbappe, the rest of the squad are young.
There's one Bacola guy who is playing.
Yes, and then Colomwani. These are young emerging talent. So technically, I'm going to place both Dortmund and then PSG on the same pedestal, except that PSG has got more firepower in Dembele and then Mbappe. But on the day, should everything be equal, I believe that PSG is going to have the upper hand.
So you are going for a Madrid and a PSG finale?
Yeah.
And you believe it's going to happen?
To be candid with you, the footballing gods are going to be happy with a Madrid PSG game. Because remember that when Madrid won the Champions League 2 years ago, they knocked out PSG.
And
right?
Yes,
en route to winning that Champions League. So it's practically going to be a revenge for PSG, and it's going to be a repeat for Madrid should they meet in the Champions League finals.
All right, now let's trickle down to the second tier of European club football. That is the Europa League, where some interesting fixtures would also be taking place in the last four. And one of the games that everyone would actually be looking at is that Bayer Leverkusen, who are still unbeaten this season against AS Roma, who are on a resurgence under their new coach, that's a former player and club legend, Daniel De Rossi.
One of the greatest absence in forms when it comes to football is what is currently happening to AS Roma.
Yeah.
From the day they sacked Jose Mourinho, they've had so much upturn, they've had so much positivity about them. De Rossi has come in and he's done a fantastic job. He's done a job that really nobody expected him to do because he was coming from the Primera Division, like more of a second team coach.
Yeah.
He's coming 2 years from and he's took them to a different pedestal.
It looks like he's changed things over there.
It's practically changed the mentality of the squad, the acceptance of the squad. The squad had really accepted him as their coach, notwithstanding the fact that he hasn't got experience at the topmost level. But you see, against Bayer Leverkusen, that I can say that they are the greatest, they are the best team in Europe currently, both in the UEFA League and then in the German Bundesliga. Like to the extent that they are currently unbeaten in 45 games.
In all competitions.
It is incredibly difficult for anybody to achieve that milestone. And to the extent that even last week they nearly lost that unbeaten run. When they got a goal. Yes, when they got a goal in the 94th minute. So it's going to be a really difficult game for AS Roma. Considering the form of Bayer Leverkusen, no matter what happens, they're going to get a goal. It is up to AS Roma to limit the attacking threat of what's the name?
Bayer Leverkusen.
Bayer Leverkusen. And should they be able to do that, it's going to be a nice game. It's going to be a tough game.
First, I would have to push you to the wall. Who is qualifying in that particular matchup?
It's going to be a tough one, but I believe that Bayer Leverkusen is going to.
You believe Bayer Leverkusen are going to qualify, but then in the other game also you have Atalanta, who are playing so well against Olympique de Marseille, who also had to beat Benfica via penalties to qualify. Quickly on that one, in just 15 seconds, who do you think is going to qualify? Since you have already tipped Bayer Leverkusen to be in the grand finale.
I really thought that Liverpool was going to beat Atalanta. But I mean it was the greatest shock. So with what they did by beating Liverpool, I think that they're going to beat Marseille.
You think Atalanta would end up beating Marseille?
Yeah.
So in the Europa League, we could have an Atalanta and then also a Bayer Leverkusen.
Bayer Leverkusen finals.
Yeah, I'm not going to push you to the wall in this one because definitely we'll get there subsequently and discuss that. But then there are some games also coming up in the UEFA Conference League where Aston Villa, they are really flying high in that one. Mind you, they're also in contention to qualify for next season's UEFA Champions League. That's a new format which we'll be discussing here on Eurozone subsequently. But then, what do you make of their chances making it to the grand finale?
There's actually no two ways about that. Aston Villa is going to qualify, considering what they've been able to do this season. Unai Emery has reinvented himself from when he was sacked from PSG and then Arsenal. He went to Spain, reinvented himself, relearned the game, came to Aston Villa where nobody really gave them a duck chance to do what they're currently doing. But he's been able to fight, and stay in the top four. I think. The whole of this season, and they're currently 4th place, right? Yeah. And not necessarily what they are really doing in the league as well, but in the conference league, in the Europa Conference League, they're playing some great football. Like, you see, one thing that they've been able to do very well is the fact that they've been able to juggle European football with the domestic football. Because a lot of the clubs have not been able to do that because of the lack of depth of quality that they've got. But Unai Emery, for whatever reason, has been able to do that. And I think that should he be able to bring out the best in them, for the last couple of matches, it's going to be practically difficult for Olympiacos to defeat them. So I believe that Aston Villa is going to qualify.
You believe Aston Villa are going to qualify to the finals, and they could also potentially end up winning?
They are likely to win should they go to the finals.
All right, so that's it on this edition. It's been a compelling one on Eurozone on the ALMedia channel, where we've been discussing or previewing the games coming up in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, the Europa League, as well as the UEFA Conference League, with my analyst and also pundit Force here. He has given his predictions, but then we'll leave you with some statistics from the previous rounds of the UEFA Champions League, as well as the Europa League and then also the Conference League. But then don't forget to subscribe to the ALMedia channel for more podcasts on Eurozone and also other interesting content with regards to sports. But then you can also log on to our website, www.almediahub.com, for more news regarding the UEFA Champions League and everything that's happening within it. See you next time. Bye.